UFC 299 goes down this weekend, and it is headlined by a bantamweight title fight, which is a rematch between Sugar Sean O'Malley and Marlon Chito Vera. In the co-main event, we have a 5-round showcase bout between Dustin the Diamond Poirier and Benoit Saint-Denis, and not to mention a plethora of other great fights on the card, not to mention the UFC debut of Michael Venom Page as he takes on Kevin Holland. The UFC has absolutely hit it out the park in terms of name value and entertaining fights that can go down for this weekend's pay-per-view card. But we are here for the quick picks of UFC 299. A reminder, if you guys are looking for the full card breakdown, you guys can find that in the form of the MMA Lawcast, which I drop on every Monday of UFC Fight Week. You guys can check the link in the description below for the link. Again, for more in-depth breakdowns on all of these fights. This segment, this video is strictly for quick picks, getting right to the nitty-gritty as to why I believe a specific fighter is going to win every single matchup. Again, if you want more information, check out the full podcast that I dropped earlier this week. Just a quick plug for the MMA Fight Archive, 7-day free trial available for you guys to do your own studying, making sure you guys leave no stone unturned for all these upcoming MMA events. We got a plethora of MMA events coming up this weekend alone. We're talking about UFC 299, obviously, but PFL going down on Thursday, Aries FC on Friday, LFA on Friday, CFFC on Friday, ACA on Saturday, and Fury FC on Sunday. If you're looking for direct links to past fights for all the competitors competing on those cards, the MMA Fight Archive has you covered, so you can make your studying that much easier. 7-day free trial available. Check the link in the description below. All right. Hope you're laced up and ready to go, because we're off and running with the first fight of the night, where we got Joanne Wood taking on Marina Moroz. Now, this is a rematch of a fight that took place almost 10 years ago, where Moroz was able to capture the first round submission victory as a near plus 500 underdog. I expect her grapple-heavy approach, if that is what she decides to lean on, to come through for her here against Joanne Wood, who is going up there in age and may have the technical striking advantage, but I believe she's going to struggle with the aggressiveness and takedown heavy approach that Moroz will show here. Give me Moroz, and Moroz by decision. Next up, we got CJ Vergara going up against Asu Almabaev. Almabaev made a successful UFC debut back in August against Ode Osborne, and I think we will see him take a similar grapple-heavy approach here against CJ Vergara, where Vergara has shown issues in the past. Almabaev will do a great job in terms of asserting his dominance with the body lock, inside trip, and eventually that top position where he should be able to posture up, find a either ground and pound or submission victory. I'm going to lean more so with the submission, probably by rear naked choke. Next up, we got the UFC debut of Robelis Despaigne going up against Josh Parisian. Despaigne, obviously a former Taekwondo Olympic medalist. I believe he was a bronze medalist back in 2012. He's a 4-0 record with his last 3 fights, only taking 19 seconds for him to complete. He has a lot of power, a lot of speed, but he has not faced somebody as durable or as experienced as Josh Parisian, who should be able to put him through the grinder. Obviously, this is a very tough task for Parisian to overcome, considering the speed and technical striking disadvantage he will be at, but he is a guy that brings his lunch pail to the octagon every single time out. I hope if he's able to close the distance here, push Despaigne up against the cage, he should be able to wear on him, take the big power away from Despaigne, and grind on him up against the cage and win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got a striker's delight between Michel Pereira and Michal Oleksiejczuk. I'm liking the forward pressure style that Michal Oleksiejczuk normally brings to the table. I expect him to deal with the early adversity that Pereira will present with the speed and power advantage he has, but Oleksiejczuk has a great beard and great durability on him, which should allow him to continue to walk through the offense of Pereira and eventually muster up a TKO in the second or third round as he breaks Pereira with his forward pressure. Next up, we got Philippe Lins going up against Iwan Cutelaba. This was a matchup that was scheduled a couple months back. An illness forced Lins out of the fight, but they did manage to put it together for this weekend. Lins is a guy, in my opinion, who has a better skill set than Cutelaba, and as long as his durability continues to hold up here at light heavyweight, I expect him to put Iwan through the grinder with his forward pressure, with his clinch work, and even having the better technical striking. And as long as Cutelaba is unable to find that knockout victory here, I think Lins has the better path to victory, more paths to victory, and I expect him to eventually grind this fight out and get his hand raised on the scorecards. Next up, we got Pedro Munhoz going up against Kyler Phillips. Pedro Munhoz, obviously a veteran of the bantamweight division, but I think his time is slowly coming to a close, especially with the faster and more skilled Kyler Phillips across from him this weekend. I think we'll see Phillips utilize his footwork, his speed, and his technical striking down the pipe to touch up Munhoz over the first 10 minutes, and I think that he'll be able to stay safe enough, considering he normally slows down late in fights, but he should be able to stay safe enough from the big power shots that are usually pretty robotic and very basic from the Munhoz side. Munhoz mainly walks down his opponents and utilizes winging hooks to try to put pressure on them, as well as that calf kick, but I think that Phillips showcased in his last fight against Barcelos that he can really maintain distance, maintain range, and touch up opponents from distance. And I expect him to do that here against Pedro Munhoz. Next up, we got Matthias Gamrot going up against Rafael dos Anjos. Obviously, Gamrot looking to extend his winning streak here, and I think he has a clear grappling and strength advantage against dos Anjos, who's starting to slow down and will be 40 at the end of the year. I think Gamrot is the better wrestler here, and I think that his ability to just wear on dos Anjos will cause dos Anjos to slow down and make it harder for him to really keep up with the pace and pressure that Gamrot will be putting on him. Dos Anjos may be the better striker, but Gamrot does a great job in terms of picking up the lead leg of his opponent and transitioning that into a chain wrestling attempt, eventually getting his opponents to the ground and grinding them out from that top position. I expect him to do that once again here against the veteran dos Anjos. Next up, we got Katlyn Cerminara going up against Maycee Barber. Cerminara has been out of the cage for a while now, but she has shown even in her last fight that she is capable of putting on high-level performances. I expect her output heavy style to really touch up Maycee Barber from distance and cause Barber to whiff at air a lot as she stays at distance, utilizing her footwork, straight shots down the pipe, and her kicks up the middle to frustrate and overwhelm Barber from distance. I expect Cerminara will do a good enough job in terms of using her footwork and staying away from the big power of Barber to go out there and win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got a high-level heavyweight fight between Curtis Blaydes and Jailton Almeida. When these guys were initially scheduled to throw down back in November, Almeida was a solid favorite, but now finds himself coming in closer to plus 100. I expect Blaydes to have the wrestling advantage here, which will allow him to dictate the pace in which this fight is fought and where it's going to be taking place, and whether it's with Blaydes trying to touch up Almeida from distance, Almeida not really providing much one-punch knockout power, should allow Blaydes to be a little bit more comfortable in this matchup compared to when he's been losing against guys with big knockout power. I'm expecting Blaydes to control the distance, eventually wrap up Almeida in the clinch, drag him to the ground, and do some good work from on top. I think we see Blaydes grind this fight out and put on a classic Curtis Blaydes performance. Next up, we got Petr Yan going up against Song Yadong in a fight that is sure to deliver on fireworks. Yan is riding a 3-fight losing streak, while Yadong is looking to assert himself amongst the title talks. I believe that Yan, even though he's a solid striker, has given up many rounds in the past due to inactivity, and Yadong will clearly be the more aggressive fighter in this matchup. I think Song will do a great job in terms of staying busy with his kicks from distance and crashing the pocket often enough to land good damage on Petr Yan. Yan will need to muster up some big moments, whether it's landing knockdowns or getting a clean knockout here, but I think that will see Song's aggressiveness and overall activity level be too much for Yan here, allowing Song to get his hand raised on the scorecards. Next up, we got Gilbert Burns going up against Jack Della Maddalena. Burns obviously getting up there in age and trying to showcase that he still deserves a title shot at this portion of his career, but I think Jack Della Maddalena is a little bit too much for him. A lot of people are going to be harping on the Brazil Hafez fight from Maddalena, showing that Burns should be able to get him to the ground and grind him out, but I think that Hafez is a stronger and better wrestler than Burns. Burns may be a better BJJ specialist than Hafez, but his inability to get this fight to the ground will cause him issues. I think Maddalena will showcase good takedown defense, good get-ups if he does eventually find himself on his back, but I think it's going to be his superior striking which will eventually get his hand raised in the spot. I think Burns will start to slow down in the second and third rounds, which will open up opportunities for Maddalena to land big shots and eventually find that knockout in the second or third round. Next up, we got Kevin Holland taking on the debuting Michael Page. A lot of people may expect this to be a striking battle. A lot of Kevin Holland backers are hoping this is a fight where Holland utilizes his fight IQ and tries to take this to the ground and utilizes BJJ black belt. But even if Holland does try to use that approach, I don't know if he will be successful with it, as I don't rate his wrestling to be that high. I think Michael Page is clearly the better striker here, and I think that he'll be able to land the better shots against Holland, and that should allow him to go out there and possibly even find the knockout late on in this matchup. Michael Page is a decent takedown defense, especially against guys that don't have a credited wrestling background like Logan Storley, who was able to give him his last loss. And I think we'll see Michael Page showcase that takedown defense here and showcase his striking supremacy as he knocks out Kevin Holland in the second or third round. And that brings us to our co-main event, which goes down between Dustin the Diamond Poirier and Benoit Saint-Denis. Poirier has made it clear that this is not the fight that he wanted. He was more so entrenched in his legacy fight era, fighting guys like Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, Anthony Pettis, and Conor McGregor. But now he is being forced to fight Benoit Saint-Denis. And if you guys remember, there was that hoopla in terms of Poirier saying he never signed a fight agreement for this matchup. Clearly, he just wanted a little bit more money, which is why he is ending up fighting on this card. Saint-Denis is the young, hungry lion who is going to be looking to put Poirier through the ringer. And I think that we'll see him successful in that, whether it's landing a straight-up takedown or even grinding Poirier up against the cage until he can open up an opportunity to leap on the back of Poirier. And we know Poirier has had issues in the past against guys that have been trying to submit him, especially from that back position. And we know that Poirier can be taken down. I believe that Saint-Denis will do a great job in terms of putting him in those uncomfortable positions and finding a submission within the first 2 rounds. And that brings us to our main event between Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera. The first time these two met, we saw Marlon Vera pick up a TKO victory, but a lot of people were pointing to the fact that O'Malley was injured halfway through that fight. And that is true. We saw O'Malley dictate the range and the pace of the fight, utilizing good long-range striking to touch up Vera for the first 2 minutes. But then it was clear that he injured his ankle, and that opened up the opportunity for Vera to find the finish. But the question for me comes, can Sean O'Malley dictate the pace, range, and at what pace the fight is fought over 25 minutes compared to the only 2 minutes that we saw him having the success over Vera? We know Vera is a slow starter and a guy that really picks up steam as the fight goes into deep waters, and that could be a potential for Vera to really start getting his own game going and potentially putting O'Malley into uncomfortable positions. I expect O'Malley to come with a full MMA game plan here and not just rely on his striking to get the win. So I think that we'll still see O'Malley get the dub here, but I think it comes by decision. Vera has never been finished. Vera has never even been knocked down in his near 10-year career with the UFC, and he has fought some of the biggest hitters that the bantamweight division has thrown at him. I don't know if O'Malley will be the first guy to finish him, but I think that we'll see O'Malley showcase better fight IQ, setting up traps, and eventually winning this fight on the scorecards, which is possibly the better way to attack this than taking the minus 300 on O'Malley. Regardless, I think we see and still for Sugar Sean O'Malley this weekend. There you guys go. Quick picks on all 14 fights for this UFC 299 card. It should be a banger from top to bottom. We got a couple of regional events to serve as appetizers for this card as well. So an MMA action-packed weekend coming your way. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the picks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. Check out the rest of the content on the MMA Lock of the Night Patreon page. And good luck on all your action this weekend, folks. And I'll see you guys later today for the Locky Trinity / Locky Two-Step free parlay for UFC 299. Peace.